San Francisco 49ers 28, Seattle Seahawks 16. Niners move to 10-3. Seahawks fall to 6-7. Niners did it again, man. Kicked it off with Christian McCaffrey, 72-yard run on the very first play from scrimmage. And then the fantasy community was very upset that Jordan Mason, what do we call that? Vulturing, I'm sorry. So in baseball, if you were a pitcher and you blew the save and then your team came back to win, we'd call that vulturing a win. So Jordan Mason, vultures the touchdown for the fantasy community. But McCaffrey finishes with a $145 on 16 carries. And Brock Purdy, again, 19 of 27 for 368. That's 13.6 yards per attempt. Deebo Samuel, another huge game. Brandon Ayuk, another huge game. George Kittle, all of them are great. Still don't know how the Niners only scored 28 points in turnovers, but dominant outing again by this Niners offense.
Yeah, against the Drew Lock-led Seahawks, because Geno Smith doesn't play.
Correct.
And that, you just that information alone, you're like going up against the 49ers, and if you were told also the 49ers basically scored immediately, you're like, oh, this is going to be a blowout, not even close. But Drew Lock and the Seahawks hung pretty tough. They came back in the game, they made it an encounter, and then the 49ers eased away just the longer the game went, because you can't stop all of those guys for the whole game. Like, you can stop most of them most of the time, but then one guy is going to get open or bust off a play or, break some tackles, and then before you know it, it's a big play and you're done. And that's basically how it went. Sure, it only cost them 28 points total, but that was enough, particularly when, San Francisco's defense is nasty as well. Like, that's the other side of this. The 49ers, they're not just this unstoppable offense, which if they were might be enough to win a Super Bowl, but the defense is really good.
It's one of those defenses that coincides with the offense. You assume, because you said, hey, is the best strategy to just get up early on the Niners? Well, good luck with that one. They scored on 2 plays. But is the best strategy to get the Niners to play from behind, right? And there's an element to that, because when the Niners are playing with a lead, they have pass rushers everywhere, right? They're going to get after the quarterback. They know when they put you into must-pass situations, it makes it more challenging. They've got a good group of linebackers, and despite injuries, they had Travarius Ward go down after about 4 snaps, but they're pretty good at all levels of the defense, especially attacking the quarterback. But you're right, Seattle hung tough. It was 10-7, and that first touchdown, Drew Lock to DK Metcalf. I don't know if your thoughts on it. We were debating in the grading chat what we thought Drew Lock was trying to do. I'll describe that really quick, but DK Metcalf has a step on Ambry Thomas, the cornerback, where normally when you have a step, right, even you're leaving, they say. So if you have a step, it's like you should be throwing that over the top and leading him into the end zone against single coverage. Drew Lock decides to, I think, rip a back shoulder, which was an absolute laser. He threw that thing hard. Drew Lock I wish we had radar guns on some of the passes. I wish we had good ball velocity numbers. I feel like Drew Lock, including the preseason, has some of the fastest just laser beam throws in the NFL. That's what this one was. It went right by Thomas. DK Metcalf either knew it was coming or just made an unbelievable adjustment to a pass that never should have been thrown. Regardless, it was a long 31-yard touchdown. DK Metcalf making some big plays these last couple weeks. So it was 10-7 Seattle at one point in the second quarter, and Brock Purdy just an absolute dime to Deebo Samuel. Deebo gets isolated on Jamal Adams. That's a mismatch in favor of the 49ers. Purdy hits him in stride, 54-yard touchdown, and the Niners were off to the races, running away from Seattle in this one.
Well, clearly the Seahawks made the biggest mistake of the game when they won the coin toss and decided to defer.
Can't do that.
Should have taken the ball.
They're not one of the teams that listens to the podcast.
Evidently not.
Or
advice. Listened to it and ignored it, which is even more egregious.
That's certainly possible.
Like the Jamal Adams getting left one-on-one with Deebo Samuel over the middle, having to turn and run as well is an absolute nightmare scenario for the Seahawks defense. But this offense right now, it's so difficult to stop because every one of those guys can beat you on any individual play. You've got Deebo Samuel, both as a runner and a receiver in this game, wrecking the Seahawks.
Yep.
You've got George Kittle, beating Julian Love on a kind of double move, not even a double move, just a fake for his touchdown. And
Julian Love,
sorry.
Yep.
And, Kittle, every time he catches the ball in space and you get that run after the catch, George Kittle, you're kind of reminded just how good he is with the ball in his hands. Like, he's right up there with Kelsey, if not ahead of him now, given where Kelsey is in terms of the most dynamic run after the catch tight end in the NFL. And you just don't get to see that much of it because everybody else is making plays. Ayuk is an amazing wide receiver, and that terrifies defenses every single down. And then you've got Brock Purdy making plays. Like, there was a scramble drill bomb he had in this game. With, again, those are sort of turning into his signature play at this point, where he's able to make just enough adjustments in the pocket and then unleash something deeper down the field. Those, I think, are the difference between last year Brock Purdy and this year Brock Purdy. He's adding those to this offense, which is taking the whole thing to a different level. I don't know how you stop that.
Yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy, another really good, clean game from him. Bit of an unlucky interception, I think, in there.
Out of Ayuk's reach, and then sort of another one of those gets batted up into a.
But Purdy, I mean, he's now averaging, for the season, 9.9 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, look, first off.
8 is a good number.
Yes.
He's about to exceed that by 2
yards. And 8's what Jimmy Garoppolo was doing, right? And that's why all of the takes on Brock Purdy have to be nuanced, right? It can't be system quarterback, and it can't be it's all Kyle Shanahan and the playmakers.
Right.
It's always going to be a combination of those things. The reason why Brock Purdy might not get as much credit as other quarterbacks is because we have this baseline where Jimmy Garoppolo could not even complete a pass beyond 20 yards, but still was averaging 8 yards per attempt. That still exists in the 49ers offense. But what also now exists is Brock Purdy hitting Deebo Samuel in stride for a 54-yarder and the Ayuk play for 45 that you mentioned. And when you add those things up, that equals almost 10 yards per attempt. Every single pass, he's averaging a first down. That's incredible. Brock Purdy is now number 2 in the league in passing yards and 17th in attempts. It's insane, the production of this 49ers passing offense. So they deserve all the credit. They've stayed healthy, right? Other than missing the few Deebo games, they've stayed healthy. And again, in any given week, you don't know who it is. In this particular week, it was all of them. Yeah. Every big playmaker made plays. Sometimes you have that game, Kittle only had 1 catch, or Ayuk only got targeted 3 times. Nope, everybody made big plays in this game. I still don't know how the Niners only scored 28. They put up numbers where they should have put up 50. The Niners averaged 9.9 per play in this game. So they averaged a first down per play on 53 plays.
And the thing is, they basically don't need to target anybody that isn't one of those most best playmakers. They put the ball in the air, 25, 26 times, whatever it was. And Deebo Samuel got 9 targets. Ayuk got 8. Kittle got 5. And nobody else had more than 1. They just go, we're only going to give the ball to the best playmakers. And those guys will kill you. And everybody else is inconsequential. They don't even matter. Occasionally we'll do some random ass trick play, or we'll get far enough into the progression that, Juwan Jennings gets the ball, but it's not designed, and you're not stopping number 1.
But Jennings is kind of awesome too,
right? But
especially after the catch.
This is how good it's another one of these data points that shows how good this offense is. They never have to make it to number 2 or 3 in the read, in the progression, because number 1 is wide the hell open every play.
Again, the whole thing with system quarterback, that people are trying to, what it really means is there's an element of free yards where we've seen history of success, right? We've seen a history of really good stat lines because of playmakers and open throws. And now Purdy's taking that to the next level. He's taking the free yards that Jimmy Garoppolo had, that Matt Schaub has had, that RG3 had, that Kirk Cousins had, that all these that Matt Ryan had in 2016. But that's the thing. Brock Purdy's performance is as close to Matt Ryan as we've ever seen under Kyle Shanahan. And when Kyle Shanahan got Matt Ryan MVP caliber performance in 2016, they broke the league statistically. And that's what we're getting from Purdy is similar production in addition to, good luck covering all these guys.
It's a really difficult analysis because, there is that baseline of we know that this offense is a cheat code and has incredible production and blah, 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 right? All you need to know from that point of view is this offense is 1, 2, 3 in yards per attempt in the NFL this season. It's San Francisco, Miami, C.J. Stroud, and Houston. I was just trying to check. I think that's still
It is. It's still up there, unless you put Jake Browning into the same.
Yeah, no, I think it still holds as number 3,
yes.
Even with his performance yesterday. So if this offense is 1, 2, 3 in terms of yards per attempt, we know this offense does this as a general concept. On the other hand, Brock Purdy is now distancing himself from everybody, including the other people running this offense. He is clearly playing above and beyond whatever the baseline expectation is for a quarterback within this system. Now, we also know, these other guys don't necessarily have the combination of McCaffrey, Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, all put together with the Godfather, Kyle Shanahan, calling, all this kind of stuff. So it's more complicated than that. But we are now in this world where we are looking at it and saying, Purdy is putting up numbers that if we didn't know anything about his offense would be automatically MVP level, right? They brought it up on the broadcast yesterday. They just listed the number of things that he's first in the NFL. And well, that's an MVP. And yeah, well, again, if you knew nothing about the offense, it would be. But we do know something about the offense, and we do know that in this world of the credit pie, Kyle Shanahan and the weapons and all that kind of thing, they deserve a pretty sizable piece. But is it enough to detract from an MVP case? And in this year, above all years, probably not.
Well, the MVP, I think, if you're talking about, I think Dak Prescott's going to be the market leader right now, but Purdy's going to be right behind him. I think the buzz, the numbers are so ridiculous, to your point. The buzz is getting there for Purdy. And if you want to make the point, the jump from Jimmy Garoppolo to Brock Purdy is a massive difference for the 49ers. You can make that point. Garoppolo is very effective in this system, despite, uneven tape and putting the ball in harm's way and weird plays and not hitting downfield passes. Very productive. And the jump from Garoppolo to Brock Purdy has turned this thing into unstoppable now for the Niners, seemingly. So credit all the way around. I thought Seattle, they played hard. The Geno Smith injury was a groin injury. It happened later in the week because they had breaking news. That was red zone breaking news at 3 o'clock or whatever it was, that Drew Lock was getting the start. Again, I thought, Seattle's offense has created some big plays these last few weeks, just not enough against this Niners team.
Seattle had an amazing play in this game, the touchdown to Parkinson. Did you see that one?
Yes.
They faked a screen left, faked a screen to the right, and then came back with a middle screen.
That's an old play.
Yeah. But
that's a Shanahan play,
right.
Actually.
Came back with this middle screen at the time where the defense is already completely bitten on one of 2 previous fakes, and he's just wide open in the middle for a run-in score.
Yeah,
just a nice play.
See, scheme touchdown, free touchdown for Drew Lock, 25-yarder, good scheme. So Niners move to 10-3. It's now a battle at the top of the NFC for that number 1 seed. You've got the 10-3 Niners and the 10-3 Cowboys. Of course, the Niners have the tiebreaker. So, as of right now, playoffs go through San Francisco. They have the tiebreaker over the Cowboys and the Eagles, really. So, Niners control their own destiny, as they say.